There is a way that leaders can truly lead, and that is through listening and communication. So, today I want to talk about leading by listening and the power of intentional communication. First, let's think about a story, a background. Where is this coming from? Imagine a military spouse, and the spouse is reaching out for help, and she's calm, but underneath that calmness, she's struggling. You can hear it in her voice that she needs help. You can see that her family is on the verge of crisis. Her spouse has just come back from deployment and they are struggling with finances. They're struggling with feeling isolated. They're trying to figure out exactly how to maintain their sense of peace and semblance. She explained her situation to people that she can trust in. She explains to his leadership. She explains it to an ombudsman. But the responses that she gets, they're procedural, they're cold, they're dismissive, and no one really listens to her. And then weeks later, the unthinkable thing happens, and her spouse dies by suicide. And only then does leadership take notice. This is not just a story. This is a reality for many military families. This is a reality for families that I've worked with. This has been a reality for my family, though it wasn't my spouse, it was someone that was very close to me. And it happens because leaders, even with the best intentions, often fail to listen with intent and do not engage in the way that these individuals need. Leadership is not just about making decisions. It's about fostering this trust, this connection, this effectiveness, this communication that leads to better outcomes on the far side. I have been very fortunate to be able to work with one of the best leaders that I've seen in the current Navy. And unfortunately, she was let go just this last weekend. And one of the things that she and I talked about was intentional leadership. We talked about communication. We talked about fostering that trust. We talked about transparency. We talked about what it means to be an active listener and to not only trust your sailors, but trust their families as well. Engaging in six critical principles, I think, is what Admiral Franchetti was trying to get to. And in listening to her and taking my experience, I came up with these six critical principles: active listening, empathy, engagement, feedback, encouragement, and collaboration. When leaders communicate with intent, they do not just change policies, they change lives. They can save lives. So, with the leadership communication model that I created, first, let's talk about active listening, because active listening is more than just hearing what someone is saying. It's internalizing it, it's understanding it, it's making sure that we have something that can help this person. There are leaders that do believe they are listening because they're present in what the conversation is going on, because they're looking at that person and they're nodding along and they are listening. However, active listening does require more than just your full attention. There's clarifying questions that can be asked. There's validating these people's concerns. There's listening and there's solution. There's also asking the person, do you want me to give you a solution or do you just want me to hear you? These two things can make the difference in the way that we listen to someone coming to us. In my work, I've seen military leaders consistently distracted during meetings. I've seen them miss key warning signs. I've seen them tapping their pencil as if they could do something better with their time. I've seen where they have looked down like this, and they're just not engaging with what the person is saying. I've seen them click along their computers and type up memos and all of these different things while someone has come to them and they are using them as that resource. If someone is coming to you as a leader and using you as a resource, it is your duty to make sure that that person leaves your office better than what they came in. I remember someone confiding and saying to me, I tried to tell them what was going on, but they just weren't listening to me. And I would ask them, what made you think that they weren't listening to you? And this person said they provided me with stuff that had nothing to do with what I was talking about. I was having an issue with finances. They gave me something for education. I didn't even go in there for that. And that is a fundamental problem when it comes between active listening and just hearing someone. The consequences of hearing and not listening can be catastrophic, and that is not something that I'm willing to risk. Empathy, understanding perspectives. Empathy goes a long way in understanding individuals. This is because you are taking what they are saying and you are allowing it to impact you as well. This is not just feeling bad about someone, it is understanding their reality and acting accordingly. It is someone telling you, you know what? My wife is struggling. We just lost our baby at 21 weeks, and I need to be home with my family because I'm not doing well with this either. My wife isn't doing well with this, and neither are our other kids. Empathetic leadership gives bereavement leave and then says, let me know how else I can help you. Empathetic leadership says, I may not have had this situation happen to me, but I want it to be better for you and your family. That is empathetic leadership. That can make the difference between someone getting out at their ETS date and someone re-enlisting. Engaging in two-way communication, that engagement, that offering of communication and asking for communication. True engagement makes space for others to speak and to contribute meaningfully. This even goes for individuals who you may think may not have the solution, and that is okay. This also goes for leadership listening to families and spouses, despite not being the military member, because sometimes that spouse knows exactly what that military member needs, and that military member may be just a little too scared to ask for it. Feedback. Let feedback be both constructive and continuous. Feedback should not be feared. Feedback is not a bad word. Feedback does not mean that you are being corrected. Feedback should be a tool for growth. However, in that tool, there's also that delivery and that perception. Leadership should hear an issue and understand what's going on, and also be able to say, okay, my service members are coming to me and they're saying there's an issue with the watch floor. How do I make sure that I'm hearing all the voices? Let's conduct a survey. Let's hear all of our members. Let's find a few holistic fixes, present them, and see what our sailors say. And also, let's hear from people who we don't normally hear from because maybe they think their voice doesn't matter. Encouragement. This is fostering that confidence and that growth, especially with new individuals to an organization or to the military. Words have power. I know for years we said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that could not have been further from the truth. Words have power, and words can make or break someone's confidence. And leaders must use encouragement to inspire action. Leaders must use their feedback from their individuals to inspire action. There could be someone who's struggling and they want to develop as a leader and they want to be a mentor and they're looking for more leadership opportunities. How do we say to that individual, you know what? I see you. I see that you're trying. I see that you are trying to make a difference. And how do we take that small bit of encouragement, that small bit of moving forward and change the trajectory? How do we help them to grow within their space? How do we find small things for them to be able to do? Do we say, okay, you know what? We have this position open here, and we need someone that's going to be in charge of making sure that those people that are coming here that are brand new, they have a sponsor. Can you help link them up with someone who's been here as a sponsor and be the sponsor program organizer? And then build and build and build. These are also resume builders. This could help with building encouragement, building confidence, and then building a mentorship program. Collaboration. This is the communication that builds a team. This is communication and collaboration where it thrives within itself. This is where we can find resources from within our organization and out of it, collaborate together and make it better for all service members. Think of it like this. Our guard and reserve individuals, they go and they drill once a weekend every month. And every other day of the year, they are civilians and they have to go to their civilian jobs. What if one person doesn't have a job? What if one person doesn't have a house? What if one person is struggling with food insecurity? Leaders within the military, within the reserve, within the guard should look to the community and say, you know what? There are these resources in the community side, and I want to get you linked up so that you are taken care of. Because at the end of the day, despite you being part-time, you're still my soldier. You're still my sailor. You're still my airman. And I want to take care of you. Think back to the military spouse that I spoke with. Think back to military spouses that may not feel like their voices are important. Think back to the service member who said, you know what, I had my spouse and our child just died. She went through a horrific pregnancy. She went through labor and delivery, and our 21-week-old did not make it. And now I'm struggling. What would have happened to not just the sailor, but that family if they didn't have empathetic leadership or they didn't actively listen to them? What would happen if they didn't hear the urgency in their words? What do you think the outcome could have been, not only for the sailor, but that family? I can tell you that it would have been very difficult because I am that spouse. I am that spouse that lost a 21-week-old in September of last year. And my husband needed to take emergency bereavement leave because I was unwell. And our other four kids needed me and him. And it was hard. But knowing his leadership cared enough to give him the time off for us both to grieve, for us both to figure out things, for us to just spend time not just together, but with our kids, that changed everything for us. Each of these stories that I've told are real. Not all of them are my stories, and whether there are some of them that are stories that I've worked on, some of them are stories that I've heard, and some of them are mine. But at the end of the day, my story is not unique. Those stories I told, they're not unique. Spouses seeking help and seeing their spouse unalive themselves, it's unfortunately not unique. The challenge that I would like to leave you is this. Are you truly listening as a leader, or are you simply waiting for your turn to speak? Are you actively listening to what your people are telling you, or are you just waiting with an intent to retort? Leadership is not about having the loudest voice in the room. It is about ensuring that every voice is valued. Leaders should not be your bully at work. Leaders should be your confidant. When we listen with intent, we don't just change policies, we change lives. Thank you.